right, there we go. We are live with Joe Kelly with a little sneak preview of who's coming on with us tonight, but we knew it from the title. Joe Kelly running for state senate. How are you tonight, Joe?
Doing great, Tim. We're having so much fun with this campaign.
Yeah.
It's fun for me. My work, because I'm a nuclear fuels, I run a nuclear fuels brokerage business, and my clients have been so cooperative. They're giving me the time to go out and knock on doors in the afternoon and asking how it is. So they're part of the campaign, which makes it a ton of fun for me. So it's like I'm running this campaign. We have our campaign team. We got a bunch of folks on that, and then I've got the people from my company, my clients all over the planet. They don't even know what the Connecticut Senate is, yet these people from all over the planet are asking how things are going. They're wishing me well. It's just a very nice experience, and it's uplifting. So I'm enjoying it all.
It's good to have a good team around you and a good group of people that have obviously been working with you for years. You've been doing that for decades, so of course they're going to support you because they want you to do well and succeed like you do in your business.
Well, it's
So
a small sort of
exciting.
very friendly business, and
Yeah.
everybody knows everyone's. Once a quarter, we fly someplace on the planet, and we all meet up, and everyone who buys or sells nuclear fuel, and we meet up, and we have some meetings and we have some papers presented, but mostly we go out to dinner and we have a few cocktails and enjoy each other's company. And a lot of times we bring our wives and sometimes our kids, and most people know each other's families. So it's a really good industry. So I'm happy to be part of that and happy that they're supporting me.
Now you say it like that. Give me an idea of the totality of the size of the industry. When you say you're going to meet up, like I think of a real estate convention, there's hundreds of people meeting in Atlantic City and go down there, and that's just a Northeast version. You're saying you fly across the world and meet. What percentage of people in your business go to that meeting?
There's approximately 450 nuclear power plants in the world, and
Right.
we'll take like EDF, France. They have about 65 of them, and one company buys all the fuel for them. So
Right.
therefore, we deal with 60 within one client there. But then we have all the other plants. Some of them are conglomerates. Some of them are singly run. Like Millstone is run by Dominion. Dominion, we've been helping them buy fuel now for 2 decades, and they're very clever fuel buyers. And I've recently been talking to them about how Dominion operates and how efficient they are, and they really do. Well, they represent 38% of in 2025. They represent 38% of the power consumed in the state of Connecticut, and they say they generate it very efficiently. And I know they buy the fuel very cleverly. So it makes me wonder why things are so expensive when it comes to fuel and electricity in the state of Connecticut. So, and you know what? We have as our guest an expert on this. So maybe that's a good transition or good time to bring Ryan Fazio in, the candidate for governor of the state of Connecticut, presently serving as the state senator, and that is the seat that I'll be running for. That he'll be not running for because he's running for governor. So Ryan, welcome on board.
Good to be back, Joe and Tim.
Welcome.
Oh, fantastic. I really enjoyed that you had the best kept secret in the entire world, by the way, Ryan. I didn't know much about New Canaan. I knew I had some family that lived there, but I didn't know anything about the small town sort of feel that New Canaan has. And now that I'm hoping to represent them in the state Senate, I've gone up there and met with them a lot. And they're a wonderful group of people, and they really protect their community. It's a great community. And so I didn't know that I know you occasionally sneak off up to New Canaan. We're like, where did Ryan go? How come he's not at this event in Greenwich? Because he's off at New Canaan, because those people up there are great. So I've really enjoyed working with them.
Yes, and one of the best parts of any campaign is that you get to meet new people and learn about new places and new communities, and eventually you get to really become part of the community. And for me, that was Stamford. I'd lived in Stamford for years, and I have worked in Stamford for years. So I'd already gotten to know Stamford, but the different neighborhoods in Stamford, I feel like I became more and more acclimated in my first campaign in 2020. And then in New Canaan, it was really my second campaign in 2021. And then beyond that I really fell in love with the town as well. And so much so that I am marrying a girl who grew up in New Canaan. So now it's really that I'm marrying into the town. So Greenwich, Stamford, and New Canaan all have special sentimentality to me, and especially New Canaan now that I'm marrying a girl from New Canaan, and it's just a very special and unique town. And now on my gubernatorial campaign, I kind of feel the same way, that I get to travel all across the state and meet so many new people. And every time Amy and I go to a different town, we think, oh wow, this is so special and unique. We could see ourselves here too. And that is really the best part of the campaigns, are not the points you get to make or how you get to introduce yourself to people, but that you get to learn about new communities and new people, and it's a great learning process to run a political campaign. And campaigning is really about learning more than it is about telling people what you think if it's done properly. And it sounds like that's exactly what you're experiencing at the moment, getting to learn about and acclimate and connect with the New Canaan and Stamford communities. And that's very important.
Well, you mentioned Stamford, and we've been excited. Always know Stamford from the downtown area and the lovely, wonderful restaurants they have, and the activity that exists there, the business environment. But I didn't know North Stamford and the whole area, the residential area connected to the downtown. And I have the wonderful privilege, obviously, of driving up and down these cul-de-sacs and streets. Of course, I've driven through, but never down the side streets. And we're getting to go door to door and meeting these very nice people in sections of Stamford that I didn't know existed. It's beautiful up there. There are beautiful homes, beautiful streets, and really, really good people in North Stamford. So another really well-kept secret, right? And so, but as you said, when you're campaigning, you get to meet the people, because the goal is to represent their interests. And if you don't know these people and you don't sort of understand what their life is about, you can't represent their interests fairly. And of course, you and I both spend a lot of time in Greenwich. And I love Greenwich. And as you know, there's not something I don't put my hand up for volunteering for everything from building committees to the Irish Society, the Hibernians, to I joined the Knights of Columbus recently. I'm a member of just so many different organizations within town, and it's great. But you must have the excitement of having that times 10, times 20, times 30 with what you're doing from state to state. Give me a little rundown on what, say, I did a little video recently, a day in my life, and a lot of people commented on it and said it was kind of fun. Tell me what happens a day in the life of Ryan Fazio now that you're bouncing around the state.
It's certainly busier than ever before, with more miles on the road than ever before. There's not exactly a model for what exactly every day looks like, but oftentimes it involves me leaving the house in the morning, driving with a campaign aide to normally a certain town or area of the state where we make stops to meet small businesses or nonprofits or community groups or community leaders, to kind of get an understanding of what the concerns are of that community in this election year. And for instance, today we were in Colchester in Eastern Connecticut, talking to farmers and addressing the referendum on their town budget, talking about the constant increase of property taxes that so many Connecticut residents are facing. Yesterday was one of the longer days. I think I got up at 5 a.m. and didn't get home till 9 p.m. And we were in New Britain mostly, talking to mostly manufacturing businesses, and connecting with some leaders in the Hispanic, the mostly Puerto Rican community there. And so every single day kind of is mostly like something like that, where you're either talking about a theme, but mostly you're connecting with leaders in a certain region or town or city. And there's a lot of excitement. You're, trying to make your pitch to the general public about how you can help make Connecticut a better state, address the major issues that people are facing in their daily lives. But even more importantly, as we said, you're trying to learn and connect with different communities. This is a state where people are very proud of the towns and cities that they live in. It's no different than what we're talking about here in the 36th district. People love and care about and are proud of the town or the city that they live in, and they're invested in it. And I think that is something that actually makes Connecticut unique compared to other states around the country.
Well, we talked briefly, myself and Tim, about the electricity costs, which I know is something that you've championed for some time, and I'm so excited to fill in your position as you move on to bigger and better things. Fill into your position, because most of the things that you're fighting for, if not all of the things you're fighting for, I believe in as well, and will continue the fight. And I've spent 2 decades of my life in the nuclear business, which is 38%, according to 2025,
Yeah.
38% of the power generated or used in the state of Connecticut is from Millstone, and that's nuclear. And I have dealt or friendly with, and have spent a lot of time with those guys from Dominion, and they're certainly very clever nuclear fuel buyers. And I asked them about the generation of electricity at Millstone, and they say no, they've got some good guys working up there that generate efficiently and inexpensively. But something kind of gets lost where the consumer's paying the second highest electricity costs in the United States, and it's being generated very efficiently. The fuel cost on certainly 40% of it is efficiently bought, and delivery can't be that challenging. I mean, it's relatively a flat state, and the power lines, of course, they sometimes get taken down maybe by fallen branches or something, but we're not going over the Rocky Mountains, so we're not going across huge areas of the ocean. What is happening? How are you actually continuing your fight, and what will you do as the governor to make sure that we address this very high electricity costs?
Well, this is a top concern for voters all across the state. They're getting hammered under the weight, as you said, of the second or third highest electric rates in the country. It oscillates from month to month. California, either we find ourselves just behind or just ahead of, and behind Hawaii, but ahead of everybody else in the country and everybody else even in the Northeast. But it doesn't have to be that way. What makes our situation so much worse than others is not our topography, not our location, as you said, but rather government policy, which drives up the cost of electricity uniquely in Connecticut. There are over $1 billion of hidden taxes and fees embedded in our electric bill, which is the main argument that I've been making for the last several years. Not just the public benefits charge, but other hidden taxes and fees in the supply portion of the bill all together add up to roughly $1 billion to $1.5 billion per year. Some years it's a little lower, some years it's a little higher, but these are the consequences of policy decisions made by Governor Lamont and the state legislature who support these taxes and fees, in contrast to candidates and officials like yourself and me and other Republicans across the state who have argued that your electric bill shouldn't be a piggy bank for politicians in the state government to pay for their preferred government programs. About half of all those hidden taxes and fees in the public benefits and in the supply portion of your bill go to subsidize for-profit energy companies. It's not like some sort of charity that most of the public benefits and other hidden taxes go to fund, but rather subsidies for private energy corporations, sometimes international multi-billion-dollar corporations like Ørsted, which is a Scandinavian multi-billion-dollar company, or D.E. Shaw, which is a subsidiary or an offshoot of a large hedge fund that now got into the power generation business, especially large-scale solar production, and other government programs. And listen, people are hurting in Southwest Connecticut. Their electric bills are too damn high. But you go to some of these other towns and cities across the state, and people I've talked to sometimes get emotional because they just don't understand how they're going to make ends meet from month to month. This state is killing them. The hidden taxes and fees are killing them. They're looking to move out of the state, and those people deserve better choices and better leadership. And I think I had a good background to go into the state Senate and focus on this issue. And it's been my area of expertise and probably the issue that I've most of all made my name on statewide. But I couldn't think of a better successor to me in the state Senate to focus on this issue than you, who had even more relevant expertise in the energy sector related to power than I did. There are no other state senators that I know of who have any professional experience in the power and energy sector. and you would be the only one if elected to the state Senate. And I think it's one of the most important reasons to elect you to the state Senate, to focus on the issue that is top of mind to Connecticut residents and businesses.
Well, Ryan, thank you for that. And I'm so looking forward to rolling up my sleeves and digging in, because I understand the nuclear side, which is only 40% of the electricity we consumed. But I certainly want to roll up my sleeves and dig into all the other reasons why we're so expensive. I've been looking at power plant contracts. I've been helping power plants hedge their costs for many years and dealt with many power plant operators. I'm friendly with a lot of guys who sell power, a lot of guys who package these deals and put them together. So all these years of experience, I certainly hope to be able to apply to bringing our energy costs. At least I'm not looking to be the cheapest electricity in the United States. I just like to be somewhere in the middle.
Yes, you are.
But cheap would be better. But I'll settle for somewhere in the middle, at least at the beginning, and then maybe figure getting it a little down from there. But also,
I think that's right.
These local zoning control is another topic I wanted to bring up, because it falls into something of my expertise as well. I've been developing properties, mostly residential, for the last 25, 30 years. And it's something I buy properties when things are cheap, when no one else is buying, and I sell them when everybody wants properties, which is right around now. I think I have one speculative property left. I'm still waiting to get a Luma on, because I've had to raise the grade because up in Groton, I had to raise it so it wouldn't be in the floodplain. But basically, I'm working on these projects, but I'm working with local control, local government, and local officials in order to do what that the local government needs. I've never tried to circumvent any of the local authorities and go through them and go to the state for profit reasons, because that's just morally wrong, in my opinion. I think you should work together with the towns and develop according to the needs of the towns, and that'll be a harmonious approach to developing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We need to stop this adversarial relationship between the state and our local towns and cities in favor of a collaborative approach. We do need to create more housing and more housing affordability, but we also need to protect our communities and neighborhoods rather than turn them completely on their head. You know, in unrecognizable from before. You know, the best most well-known example in our district, the 36th district, is a single-family zone property on Weed Street and Elm Street in New Canaan, where a developer used 830G to get a 100-unit development approved in a single-family zone neighborhood against the will of the town government and the community. And I am, maybe more than others, a believer that we do need to add more housing, but it needs to be in the scope and the character of local neighborhoods with local buy-in, or at least not with the adversarial kind of circumstances of an 830G project. The problem is the supermajority in the state legislature and the governor not only support 830G, not only support big developers being able to ignore local zoning, but they've actually added new mandates, new zoning and development mandates on top of that. So the governor signed in the past year House Bill 8002, which will add over 50 new sections of mandates on our towns and cities in order to promote the development that they see fit, rather than towns and cities see fit. And even some of our experts in development and housing laws in Connecticut who have been supporters of 830G, who might disagree with you and me, Joe, on this issue, have, like Tim Hollister, who have said that these are adding mandates, but I don't understand how it will improve affordability in the state. So the governor and state legislature can continue to add more mandates and override local zoning more and more, instead of working with the towns and cities and across the aisle. And I think this year they're going to get penalized for it at the ballot box, as they should.
Well, on that note, what person, a citizen, now you're covering the whole state now. I just deal basically in the 36th district. Prior to that, just Greenwich. And I've never met a resident, a citizen of the state of Connecticut, certainly in Greenwich, New Canaan, and North Stamford, now that I'm spending a lot of time with them, that ever said that they would prefer that any zoning control should be extended or given to Hartford to make decisions in their communities. Is there any individual you've ever come across in any of the 169 towns in the state of Connecticut that actually said, Ryan, I'm really happy that Hartford makes the decisions on our housing rather than our local authorities?
No. And this is not an issue that has been litigated in previous statewide elections, but it will be in this one. The governor is going to have to explain to the public why he thinks that towns and cities deserve less local control and Hartford deserved more control when he signed House Bill 8002 on top of 830G. People who want to see a larger and larger supermajority in the state Senate, like your opponent, are going to have to explain why the Senate Majority Leader who co-authored House Bill 8002, which piled on more and more zoning mandates, deserves even more power in the state Senate. But I'll do you one better, because it's not just that this is an issue important to people in Greenwich, Stamford, and New Canaan. As I go across the state, I hear about this everywhere. Nobody wants the state to override their local zoning, whether they're in a rural town in Northeast Connecticut, the Quiet Corner, where they have an independent streak and they can't bear the cost of hiring a new planner or a new zoning official who's going to have to acquiesce and meet all these new demands from the state government, or whether it's a city councilman in Bridgeport who opposed the new housing bill because of the ridiculous parking regulations that it's imposing on all the towns and cities, overriding local zoning. I'm hearing about this issue everywhere. There's a better way to do this. I do have strong opinions about how we can improve housing affordability and availability in the state. I think it involves focusing on the smaller scale development, like accessory dwelling units, like duplexes, like residential and mixed use areas, like converting commercial to residential, and like capping property taxes, which have spiraled out of control. This can be done, but the people in charge getting more power is not going to be the way to do it.
Correct. Well, I'm so looking forward to when you get elected governor and I get elected to the state Senate. For us, you and I working together on these issues, it's going to be very exciting for me, because I think we working together can make a difference. And I think the people will be quite satisfied with the different outcome that they've been receiving now for the last number of years. So, Ryan, I do say thank you very much for joining us. I know we have our next guest. I know you said you have a busy schedule ahead and you've got to drop into a couple other things. Thank you very much for joining me. And anything I could do for you on your campaign trail, please let me know, and I'll be happy to help. It'll be my pleasure.
Likewise, Joe, Tim, thanks for having me, and I'll see you on the trail.
Thanks, Ryan.
You're
See
always
you later.
welcome back here on Tuesday nights as well. So stop by.
Always
anytime.
welcome. There'll be a constant invite for you.
Bye-bye.
Excellent. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Ryan.
All
He's such a promising young man. I'm so looking forward to watching his career. He's one of those, if you could buy stock in Ryan Fazio, I would be the first one investing in that young man. He has a bright, bright future.
He is dedicated. I've known him through many elections now, running, helping you before, and then a couple other campaigns I've been involved in, and he's always there, always out in front, and eager to lead. So yeah, very exciting and glad.
Well, it's guys like him that really kind of brought me in, because obviously 7 years ago or so, I kind of came in and said, "How can I help?" And that's when they directed me to the Board of Education, and I spent 4 wonderful years there. Because the greatest thing about being on the Board of Education is the fact that you can, any work you do or anything you succeed in, the beneficiary of that is the children. Yeah. So there's nothing more rewarding than helping the kids through that process, and helping bring a unit, or there's 8 members on the Greenwich Board of Education, 4 Democrats, 4 Republicans. And we were able to bring them together and able to point each of them in a different direction to do some research or work on certain things that the schools needed. And because we created such a relationship within the Board of Education, we're able to work together on accomplishing things that we had never achieved, or they had never achieved before in the board, because we trusted that we'd work together for the betterment of the children, and people were in it for the right reasons.
Absolutely. That was one of the, and he's going to have to come back, because I wanted to talk to him about what what motivated him to start so young. Obviously, he's a young guy and has been doing it for quite some time now. Because and it wouldn't be a show if I didn't mention that I have 5 kids who are going to be some of the youngest voters out there in the constituencies. One that turns 18 about a month before the election. So I just wanted to have him talk to the youngest voters out there, to help them get involved and or what they should be really paying attention to. That's my next question for him next time he comes on. But we have Ben in the waiting room, so let's jump him in here.
Of course, bring Ben in.
There he is.
There's
Hey,
Ben.
guys, how are
Hello,
you?
Ben. How are you, sir?
Good, Joe. Hey, Tim. Thanks for having me. Hey, just really quick before we start, Joe. Tim, you just mentioned you have a 17-year-old who's going to be 18
Yeah.
before Election Day and is going to vote in November. You know he can vote in the primary.
When is the primary? That's
August 11th.
so because
A 17-year-old who will turn 18 on or before Election Day can vote in a primary in the state of Connecticut.
Wow, I'm gonna have to get her registered.
Got to get registered. She can go down. It's your daughter.
Yes.
So your daughter goes down to registrar's office, can register to vote at 17. And because she will be 18 on or before Election Day, she's eligible to vote in the primary.
See, Tim, I told you Ben would be full of all sorts of wonderful information. And he's right off the bat, he started with something good.
Information running around in my head, Joe, then you can shake a stick at.
No, that's
Perfect.
that's exactly
Well,
what I
Ben-
wanted to know.
Perfect. Well, Ben,
Yeah.
thanks for coming on. Thanks for joining us. This is our second episode of the series. We're going to go and carry on, and who knows, maybe even carry on past the election, because I just have so much fun bringing people in and talking to them. So, Ben, I must say
It's a great
that
idea.
Ben
I
has been
love the concept. I have one I do on occasion as well called The Right Direction. Maybe we can get you on mine.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great. And I do have to thank Ben and let everyone know who might be watching that Ben was so kind as I was the kind of the new guy up at State Central when our 36th district elected me to go up and represent their interests with Tom Lombardo, that Ben was so nice and so welcoming to actually help us, or me as the new guy. And also Tom Lombardo was great as well. But Ben was very welcoming and nice and very friendly. So thank you for opening up State Central to me. And I learned so much in such a quick period of time. One of the unique things about State Central, there's so many different towns that are represented. Some representatives represent a series of towns, but some towns I didn't even know existed before. I don't want to say that, but I guess I have to. But I learned a lot up there. But Ben, tell us how you got involved in State Central and politics in general. I'd like to hear that.
So politics goes back a long time. So the very first campaign that I ever worked on was knocking on doors for Gerald Ford in 1976. Yes, I'm old. I was a senior in high school, and senior government was a required class for seniors at Notre Dame High School in West Haven. And as part of that class, you were required to work on a political campaign. My teacher was a gentleman by the name of Dick Antonetti, who was a former state rep. I'd been a history and government teacher at Notre Dame for many years, and started this program. And to this day, it still exists, that you have to work on a political campaign, which I think is a great idea. Mm-hmm. And so I went down to the East Haven, where I was born and raised, Republican headquarters, and said, hey, I want to get involved. I want to knock on doors. And I always kind of facetiously say that, think about this for a minute. I was 17 years old at the time. And so not exactly a ball of fire and political, but I went to an all-boys high school. And so when we started talking about this among, the guys in the class, it's like, this is going to be really boring, but there might be something there that we don't have at our high school. There might be girls.
Yeah. I went to an all-boys high school as well. I understand.
Right. Yeah, you always look for those.
All three of us.
You always look for those opportunities where there might be girls.
Of course, you got to do it.
So that was the very first campaign I ever worked on. And then I went to college in New Hampshire, and I was in New Hampshire in 1980. When obviously Jimmy Carter was running for re-election in 1980. So the Democrats had no real presidential primary, but the Republicans had a big presidential primary at that time. And New Hampshire being first in the nation state, they would all come to New Hampshire. And I went to a small school known then as New Hampshire College. You would all know it now as Southern New Hampshire University, the one with the big bus that you always see on TV. And so the candidates would always come to our school, and we got to meet all of them. And when I say meet, I mean like there'd be maybe 15 or 20 of us in the room standing next to them, standing next to Ronald Reagan, standing next to George H.W. Bush, Howard Baker, and those folks, and talking to them. And I was a big fan at the time of Howard Baker, who was then majority leader from the state of Tennessee, became Ronald Reagan's first chief of staff, knocked doors in New Hampshire for Howard Baker. And that was really kind of my introduction to politics. Then kind of went away when I was in law school in New York City. I came home, got married, moved to Stratford. And there was a gentleman here in Stratford who became kind of my political mentor, my political godfather, a gentleman by the name of Fred Biebel, who had been very involved nationally, had been the former state chairman in Connecticut, had been Ronald Reagan's co-chair of his 1981 inaugural committee. And he got me involved in Republican politics in Stratford, and the rest, as they say, is history. I was on the town committee in my town. I ran for the state legislature a couple times, became town chairman, and then got involved on a much larger scale. And in 1994, I ran my first statewide campaign in Connecticut for Dr. Gerald Labriola, who became a very good and dear friend of mine, at the request of John Rowland and John Mastrapetro, who John Rowland was now seeking to run again in 1994, and John Mastrapetro was the then state chairman. And they asked me to go run Jerry's campaign. And that's how I got involved in statewide. And I've been doing statewide politics and campaigns since then. I've done a number of state Senate U.S. Senate campaigns, gubernatorial campaigns. In 2000, I, along with my dear friend Chris Healy and my dearly departed friend Ben Duvall, were the three co-chairs of the McCain campaign in 2000. We won the only closed Republican primary in the country in 2000 for John McCain in Connecticut. And that was my first national convention as a delegate. I've been to 6 national conventions since then. This last one in 2024, I had the honor of being on the platform committee and serving as Donald Trump's platform delegate floor manager to move the platform through that he wanted. I've served on the rules committee, the credentials committee. I'm currently the chairman of the RNC budget committee. So I kind of went from hoping to meet girls in 1976
Nice.
to being the chair of the RNC budget committee and managing right now about $150 million in cash on hand, while the Democrats are about $15 to $20 million in debt.
Well, one thing that us older folks do understand is experience has value. Young folks don't understand that. And you've certainly explained why your experience has tremendous amounts of value. I'm new to politics. I've only been dabbling a little bit in it for the last 7 years, making my way up, trying to help as best I can. And everyone keeps promoting me into higher things. So I guess I'm doing the right thing. But Ben, you're
a sucker, one or the other, Joe.
Exactly. No one else wants to do it. But you saw we had Ryan on before.
Yep.
In your opinion, what are we touched on 2 topics. We talked about utility bills, electricity bills in particular, and local zoning control. Do you feel those are the 2 big issues that we really need to address and we need to change within the new government, which we hope that Ryan becomes the governor and I become the state senator?
Yeah, I think they're components of them. I think the most important overall global issue is the affordability of the state of Connecticut. And obviously our energy bills play a big role in that, as having, right now the second highest energy rates in the country, the first higher in the continental United States. And when we look at, I was listening to your conversation with Ryan and on the affordable housing situation. Look, you'd ask the question, have you met anybody who thought having Hartford make the decisions for your local community? And interestingly enough, Ryan said, no, I've met a lot of them. Ned Lamont, Martin Looney, Bob Duff, John Fonfera, Steve Mesker. And I go down the list of people who think it's a better idea. And they're the far left progressive Democrats up in Hartford. If you come into the towns, no, they do not think it's a good idea. And what's interesting, about the whole affordable housing, the 830G situation is, in my town of Stratford, if you were at 60% of area median income, which is there's a 60 and 80%, guys, as you know, an affordable 1-bedroom apartment in Stratford is just under $1,700 a month. That's affordable. That's an affordable apartment. If you have a 1-bedroom apartment, it's just over $1,700 a month. And in order to qualify for that, you would have to be, as a single person, gross income of $56,000 a year or less. Think about that. You're looking at paying about $20,000 a year on about $50,000 of gross income a year. I'm not sure that's really affordable. And we've missed out on a lot of things in that area. And I'll give you an example. My son turned 30 this year. Back in 2024, he was looking for an apartment. He was living with us at home. He was looking for an apartment in the Fairfield area where we live in Stratford. And he came home one day and he said, Dad, he says, I can't afford these apartments. They're $2,500, $2,600 a month for a 1-bedroom apartment. And he said, I was looking at it. He says, if I buy a house, my mortgage payment is less than a rent payment. And I said, well, yeah, if you get the right house and the right mortgage, it could be. Well, here's something for you that most people don't know about. The state of Connecticut occasionally gets things right. Not often, but occasionally. And they created the first-time homebuyer program. My son was eligible for about $45,000 in down payment assistance from the state of Connecticut. $25,000 in an interest-free loan, forgivable after 10 years if you're still in the house at 10 years, and the balance about $19,000 in a 1% loan for 30 years. So
that's a good deal.
There's opportunity for young people and people with not a lot of wealth or savings to be able to look at other ways to buy homes in this state that actually will be less expensive for them with a mortgage and even the highest property taxes in the country than it would be to rent a $1,700, $1,800, $2,000, $2,300 apartment. So if Stratford, think about this, Stratford is a very diverse town, probably middle to lower middle income for the most part. You're talking about almost $1,700 for a 1-bedroom apartment if you're affordable. Imagine what that same number is in Greenwich. Right? A much more affluent community. So I think the Democrats have completely missed the boat on the whole affordable housing issue, and forcing the building of it isn't going to make it more affordable.
Nope.
I represent developers. You said, Joe, you're in the real estate market. I represent developers, and I've worked with them on building not 830G projects, but other type of projects where we've agreed to make certain units affordable within the guidelines without doing
compromises. Right. Exactly.
So, and there's ways to do that, but forcing towns to do things is not going to make things more affordable. In fact, they're going to make them more expensive because towns are going to fight it. And it's going to end up increasing the cost. But getting back to the original question, the primary thing for me, I think the primary issue in the state is affordability. Every poll that we get back, it's the number one issue.
Of course.
So when you take the energy costs, you take property taxes, you take state taxes, you take the cost. Look, we have a 25-cent a gallon gas tax that most people don't even think about when they go to the gas station. So, you think about that, you put 15 or 20 gallons of gas in your car twice a week. Think about how much you're paying in gas tax. You got 2 cars, you're paying close to $1,200 a year in gas tax to the state of Connecticut.
The government's contributing to the affordability crisis, and that
they've created the affordability crisis.
So we need some logic, some financial
Common
experience to approach these things and fix it.
Common sense is what we really need.
I have
what
we do
at our kitchen table every day when we're managing our home budgets.
Absolutely. I have some uncommon sense too, which I'd like to apply to this situation and maybe solve my 25 years of experience in fixed income business. I do believe that Wall Street years could actually help in some of these situations. But I'm going to transition, Ben, if I may, into police, because I was asked to co-chair the policeman's ball this year.
Okay,
And
good for you.
I'm very happy to do that with Steph Dunn Ashley will be doing it with me. And I believe we have Sue Dobson, who is Tim. Has she popped in yet?
Sue's here.
Sue Bodson. Yeah, there she is. Hello,
There.
Sue. How are you?
Hi. Hi, everyone.
Sue will be running the event. It's the 130th anniversary of the police, and we're running going to be the party of the year. So we expect everyone to attend, and it's going to be a great event. And Sue, why don't you give us some details on what we're on? Ben, you could hang or you could run, whatever you choose. But we don't have much time yet, but we're gonna give Sue a chance to talk a little about the Policeman's Ball.
Sure. Wonderful. And Joe, thank you so much for saying yes. I'm thrilled that you and Stephanie Dunn Ashley agreed to co-chair this, because we have some good star power behind us, but also you're two people who I admire so much because you roll up your sleeves. You get in there and you do things. It's not just, you're not chair in name only, by no means. I know that about you. So the event is going to be October 17th. It's at Riverside Yacht Club. We did this once before. So to Chief Heavey's credit, when he developed the scholarship fund for police officers, for children of current Greenwich police officers going to college. And this was something that was very important to him. And when the scholarship fund first started, they had money. He did fundraising, they had money, but it was to really get it off the ground. He utilized the 125th anniversary, which was during COVID, to really amplify the scholarship fund. And through the events that we did that year, we were able to raise enough money that the fund actually is just about running on its interest, which is incredible. So our goal, as you know, Joe, is to get that over that hump and really amplify this scholarship fund.
Well, Sue, are we going to be, I know we talked about it, but are we going to be raffling off a get out of jail free cards? I know we talked about that. Are we able to do that?
We did not. I have not cleared that with the chief, so I'm not sure that in our current positions we have the authority to deem that a feasible option. But we will talk to the chief about that.
So Joe, a better prize, actually, I don't know if Greenwich has them yet, are the flock speed cameras. You get one free pass by the cameras.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about that. It's a plate cover. You can cover your plate just for an afternoon if you play now. But I think they've turned that one down as well. Right. So I don't think we can get that one. We're trying some things to bring people in, but I think if we just throw a really good party, everybody's going to come, because we have really, really good police officers in the town of Greenwich. We have our Chief Heavey. We're very fond of him. He really runs a large town like Greenwich, 64,000 people. He runs it sort of like a small town, kind of like Mayberry RFD. He's like in charge of it. He really runs it, and we really feel it's the police know the people. They take care of the people, and they make sure everyone's looked after very well. It's a very safe town. Very safe town.
100%. 100%. And I would also say, these first responders, they really deserve our support. And we have an opportunity, the residents of Greenwich have an opportunity to really help celebrate the 130 years of service and invest in the future of these Greenwich police families. We all know how expensive college is. So this really does help them. And I really hope the entire Greenwich community will come together for what I know will be an historic evening.
Oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be good. Well, Ben, thank you very much for joining us on this program. You gave us some very interesting insight on this upcoming November election. I didn't want to talk about the primary too much. I wanted to go straight into because we had Ryan on and we had myself on, and that's the one we're working towards. And Sue, thank you for talking about the Policeman's Ball. I'm so looking forward to that. That's going to be great. We're going to have so much fun. And we have not the pre-party, but the party, a couple of patron
party.
Oh, that's it. The patron party. we're hosting at the Kelly House. So we're going to have our patrons, the big donors will be coming to the Kelly House for the patron party, which we'll have fun at that as well. So I'm really looking forward to, the election and working with Ben as the state central rep for the 36th district, Sue working with you on the policeman's ball. And we always end our programs with words of wisdom from Tim. Tim, what have you derived as far as something to say about the two guests that are remaining, and maybe even comment about your interaction with Ryan?
Well, Ryan, I have my next question for him. I think I already said, but no, Ben, I got the great tip for my daughter, so I can go get her registered.
Absolutely.
And now I'm looking forward to a great party on October 17th. So I'm excited. This is another great show, and of course I wouldn't do my job unless I told everybody about Joe Kelly for Senate.com. where you can follow along and of course like, share, and subscribe to the show. Share it with somebody else who might be interested in any of the topics that we talked about tonight. So
thank you, Tim. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Sue. That was great. I think we had a good show. I'm not sure. I think it was okay.
Great show.
Yes.
You had a great show.
Joe,
Great show. Yay.
Joe, can I just add one more thing?
Absolutely.
Joe, I just wanted to thank you for your community service. I know it includes Board of Education, a representative town meeting, Board of Estimate and Taxation, like 2 decades coaching rugby at Greenwich High School. I mean, you deserve a medal just for that. But also, I know you were very integral in the Cardinal Stadium. And I think were you also part of Junior Curtis Building Committee?
And also Central Middle School.
Okay, Central Middle School. Okay, so clearly you are a guy who can't say no. I'm a girl who can't say no, and you're a guy who can't say no.
Sue, you're making me blush, but you also do the same. Your hand is permanently up. You walk by things, people say, we need a volunteer, and your hand is up. So thank you. Thank you for those very kind words. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you guys. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Take care. Have a good night. Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye. Good night.